The Republican lawmaker has been facing some tough questions and in some cases angry crowds at town halls across the country. Some have chosen to not face their constituents at all. Others are trying to come up with strategies for hearing the voices in their district without letting things get out of hand. Jason Carroll tonight reports.
Thank you for calling the office of Congressman Gaetz.
The phones at Congressman Matt Gaetz's office in Pensacola, Florida have been ringing nearly nonstop.
Yes, sir. 1 second, sir.
Many callers are threatening to disrupt his town hall, but those threats have not stopped Congressman Gaetz, nor has some of the advice he has received.
I have spoken with many of my colleagues in the Republican conference who've said, maybe town hall meetings where you invite everybody that's angry with you isn't the best way to make your first impression.
Gaetz has seen the anger at other town halls, so he and his staff have been holding meetings like this to strategize how best to deal with it should it arise.
Let's be slow on the trigger. If people throw water on me like they've been saying on social media they're going to do, I won't melt. I'm not the Wicked Witch. It'll be fine. I don't want a circumstance where someone taps me on the shoulder and they think that we're in the middle of an aggravated assault. That's obviously not what we want to portray.
The Republican freshman congressman is expecting to face fire for a number of his positions. He supports eliminating the Department of Education, repealing Obamacare, and he introduced a bill to abolish the Environmental Protection Agency.
We need the EPA!
If Gaetz is met with opposition and unable to get his message across, his staff has a backup plan.
We've had some ingenuitive ideas of, a nonverbal town hall with signs that relay the message he wants to get across.
A nonverbal town hall. How does that work?
So we have a speech that the congressman would deliver, and we've put it on boards, like foam boards, and he'll literally hold it up, read, move to the next one.
His staff hopes it won't come to that. In the meantime, Gaetz is not shying away from his constituents in this district nestled in Florida's Panhandle, one which he describes as deeply Republican. He's holding what he calls an Open Gaetz Day.
Congressman, welcome.
This morning, words of encouragement on local radio.
That you're not allowing yourself to be intimidated by these who try to shut down the dialogue.
Then an afternoon stop at a middle school, followed by a lunch town hall at a barbecue where outside he got a taste of what could come later.
You're getting out there, you're engaging. What would you say to some of those who are ducking and hiding, frankly?
We as Republicans have the best argument. We've just got to be courageous enough to go and make it. I just think that part of public service is letting folks show up and tell you what they think of you, good, bad, or otherwise. And so I didn't take that advice, and we'll see how it turns out.
And Jason Carroll joins me now. This is solidly Republican territory. It doesn't seem like he got a very positive reception. How did it go?
He really didn't. At one point, though, he did receive a positive reception, Anderson, and I could say that was probably the only point. And it was when he was asked a question about whether or not the president should release his tax returns. At that point, Congressman Gaetz stood up and addressed this crowd and said, yes, I do believe this president should, in fact, release his tax reforms. Remember, this is someone who was an early supporter of Donald Trump, so surprising for some here to actually hear him admit something like that. He was received by a great deal of applause, but that was really the only point. When he started talking about wanting to abolish the EPA, wanting to repeal and replace Obamacare, he was overwhelmingly met with boos in this particular crowd. A number of people here, Anderson, came from as far away as Tallahassee and Panama City, coming here wanting to voice their anger, voice their opinions. But you heard the congressman say, he said, look, this is what I was prepared for. He doesn't believe that other Republicans should try to shun town halls like this one, even if they're met with protesters like the ones that are standing behind me. He says operating in an echo chamber is not something that Republicans should be doing going
Jason,
forward.
Just very briefly, you have to use his signs, his nonverbal speech?
Not yet, but
okay.
The night is still young, and this town